Absolutely. Yeah. So there was a conference, press conference being held here in Washington, D.C. It was being hosted by James Fox, filmmaker, documentary filmmaker, about the Varginha incident and that happened in Brazil back in 1996, and where a craft had many witnesses that had come down, and supposedly also as well beings that were seen by multiple witnesses as well too. And he was making an effort to bring many of those witnesses to DC. And so, yeah, so this was a big event because this was important because this was happening not just in some conference room in a hotel or something. This was happening at this building in Washington, D.C., which is called the National Press Club, which is known by, all of government officials, anyone of any high position lobbyist or corporation or anything like that that's in and around DC. If they want to make an announcement to the press, this is where they would hold that announcement. And so it was a big deal that he was able to get a room there, basically for the whole day, really, to have these witnesses testify and invite any media to show up to record what they had to say and what had happened.
Hey there, beautiful souls. It's your girl, Allie, and we are back at it again for another episode of Living Life Consciously. We have a very special guest lined up for you today who happens to be a personal friend of ours, and I am stoked to get started. So without further ado, Justin, say hey.
Hey, Cosmic Truth Seekers, I'm Justin. This is Living Life Consciously, where we explore the extraordinary, ride the waves of inspiration, and embark on an adventure of a limitless curiosity together. Leslie?
Hello, I'm your co-host, Leslie, also known as Light Being Love. We are very excited to talk to our friend, Matthew, also known as Android Paranormal. Matthew, would you like to say hi to everyone?
Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, and thank you for being here. So for our audience, what happens when cutting-edge tech meets the deepest mysteries of our universe? In today's episode, we sit down with Matthew, also known as Android Paranormal, for those of you who hang out on Discord with us, a cloud software consultant by day and a multi-dimensional experiencer by night. Matthew has encountered multiple types of unexplained phenomena and is driven by a profound curiosity about how our physical universe, spiritual realms, and realities beyond all interconnect. Fresh off attending James Fox's UAP press conference, Matthew joins us to share what really went down behind the scenes, from powerful testimonies and media narratives to what this event signals for the future of disclosure. We explore the intersection of technology, consciousness, and the unknown, and ask the bigger questions many are afraid to touch. If you're curious about UAPs, experiencer perspectives, consciousness, or what may lie beyond the veil, this conversation is for you. Thank you guys so much for being here. Matthew, what's up?
How's it going, guys? Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm excited for the conversation.
Absolutely. Us too. Yeah. We love when we get our friends on because we feel like we've been talking to you for and speaking of, let's mention what you shared with me earlier. Today happens to be Android Paranormal and I's 1-year anniversary of being friends on Discord. So it's just so synchronistic.
Yeah.
And this conversation is happening on that anniversary. So
I mean, we chatted an open mic before then, but yeah, today is the exact day we added each other as friends on Discord. Total by chance. I just logged on for this and saw that and was like, wow, what a synchronicity, for that to happen today.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Isn't it amazing how things like that just happen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Totally unexplainable. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and it has also given me chills, which is strange because it's not like some deep thing, but that must mean there's something. There is something there.
There is for sure. Your guys are high-fiving behind the veil right now. All right, Matt, so take us back to the beginning. What first sparked your interest in the paranormal and the unexplained?
Well, I mean, I've always had a little bit of a natural interest. I guess growing up, I've kind of was drawn towards the early ghost hunter shows. But even before that, back in the early 2000s when I was watching those ghost hunter shows, I used to watch the, Unsolved Mysteries back in the 90s and stuff like that, even as a little kid. And so I've always kind of had like a vague interest in it. I always felt like kind of, in my heart, like there was something there. There's something more out there that we don't know, just in general in this universe. But it was really in 2008, summer of 2008, when my entire paradigm was basically changed. It was just like any other night. I was just sitting on the couch. It was like 3 a.m. And I usually stayed up till 3 a.m. back then because I worked evenings at a place where I'd work until like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So I was usually up till about 3 or so. So just normal routine for me. I'm like, okay, I need to get up, get ready for bed. And I let the dog out before I go to bed. So got up, opened the back door, let the dog out. And as soon as I stepped out there, I heard, footsteps in the forest that was behind our house. And originally, my first thought is like, oh, it's a deer or a person. The paranormal didn't even come to my mind, even though I kind of had a vague interest at the time. And so I thought it was strange because I'd never heard that before. I've been out there, hundreds, if not maybe thousands of times late at night. And I knew instantly it wasn't like a rabbit or, a squirrel, because it wasn't like a scampering sound. It was like actual step, crunch on the leaves, like steady pattern. So I thought, okay, it's a deer or a person. After about 5 or 6 steps, it stopped, and I stood there and just listened and watched. And then suddenly a little tiny light appeared. I mean, it was like real tiny, size of a marble. White light appeared. It was about 3 feet off the ground, maybe about 20 yards away from me. So not super far at all. But not super close either. And it was just outside our fence line, but we had one of those fences that had like just the 3 wooden posts that go across it, so you could see right through the fence to see this light. And it just grew larger and larger until it was about the size of a basketball. It got huge. And at this point, my dog, she was actually very territorial to the property. Fairly friendly if you came in the front door, but if you tried to hop the fence, she took that as a threat. And she took off to the other side of the deck where the steps were, jumped off the deck. And when she had done that simultaneously, like this light or whatever it was, which was, like I said, was white, but it also had like a faint blue hue to it. It was so searing white, like the brightest, most magnificent light I've ever seen in my life. Imagine a welder's torch light,
wow.
Except for it didn't hurt to look at. It was as bright as that, but it didn't hurt your eyes to look at. And looking back at it, which is really strange, I didn't notice it at the time, but the light, even though it was so bright, it didn't light up the forest around it. It was almost as if the light was contained within itself. And so at this point, I'm thinking, okay, it's probably somebody with some fancy LED lantern or flashlight or something like that. And so I'm concerned for my dog. I'm like, if it's a burglar, somebody up to no good, if they have a gun, they're going to shoot my dog. If they don't have a gun, they're going to get, the crap scared out of them. They're going to be running. So she takes off sprinting towards it, but then it kind of like flickers or flutters. I don't know how else to explain it. And then it just rapidly just shrinks down and just deteriorates into nothingness. And right before she gets there, maybe 1-2 seconds before she gets to the fence line, right where it's at, she's up on the fence looking around for it. And she doesn't see anything. So I walk over to these like floodlights we have that were motion sensor, wave my hand in front of the sensor, which had one of the lights pointing in that direction, triggers them to turn on. There is absolutely nothing there. And I'm sitting there thinking for a second, like, well, did they run away? And then I realized, well, if they would have ran away, I would have heard them running on the dry leaves of the forest. So there's no way that they could have just escaped that fast or without me hearing them. And I just literally stood there for probably 15 minutes after that, like in total shock, like just staring, like couldn't believe what happened. Like it's totally undeniable, just event that happened right in front of you, for, maybe unfolded for maybe almost a full minute or so. And it was just, totally mind expanding experience. And, I kind of put that in the back of my head after that, and didn't really have any experiences after that immediately for many years. And, but it made me more spiritual. It made me realize, okay, there is, things out there. And it was really not until 2020, I guess, during the pandemic, I had a lot more free time working from home, where I started listening to a lot of podcasts and researching and kind of learning more about all of this realm of, the unknown, basically.
Do you remember some kind of like feeling? Was there a feeling or an emotional response to seeing this, or
that's a good question.
like
and
that?
I was wondering what his mood or, frequency or whatever was. Were you happy at the moment, or in a sadder place, or like
The
what were
mood
you?
during it was just like, what is happening? Because I was more concerned about my dog more than anything,
Sure.
and because I thought it was a person, right?
Yeah.
But then right after it happened, I realized what happened. The mood was like just total eeriness, like because it was spooky. You know, it was almost like, what just happened? Totally something paranormal just happened here.
Right.
And it was very spooky, but it wasn't like a flight response. I know some people would run inside immediately, right? But I didn't do that. I literally stood there because I was curious and fascinated. And so even though I was probably a little scared, I was curious and like I wanted to find out what it was. I wanted to see if it came back. I wanted to see what else was going to happen next.
Sure.
And so yeah, I was out there for like at least a solid 15 minutes after that, just waiting and watching. So yeah, it was kind of spooky. Maybe that feeling came from, the paranormal shows I had watched before. And I always, for the longest time, thought it was probably a ghost. But then after hearing and researching, through Skinwalker Ranch and stuff, all those, military contractors, reporting, beings coming out of like portals that open up and stuff like that. And it really got me thinking that, okay, maybe it wasn't a ghost because, it could be anything if these, credible military contractors are experiencing stuff like that when they were working at Skinwalker Ranch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it sounds like there was something walking that came from within that light and then jumped back in that light.
Yeah, it almost like you could say wrong place, wrong time, or right place, right time. But I don't think it was expecting me to come out there, whatever it was at that time. Like it was already walking when I walked out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like I interrupted it passing by, and then whatever it was absolutely conscious, right? It's not like some like just replay, physics event or something that was unexplainable because it was conscious to its surrounding, to where it knew my dog was running towards it. And that's when it had flickered and disappeared out of there, right when she jumped off the deck and sprinted towards it. So it was absolutely aware that, my dog was coming towards it and got itself out of there. Yeah.
Wow. I have so many things swimming through my head. The first thing I want to say is that I'm glad that your dog was not only like a witness, but a participant to it, because the orb responded to your dog. So like you're saying, that proves that it was conscious and aware of what was going on and how it was affecting the beings in the environment. And then I'm also wondering, like, if it was the Sasquatch, like that's what I'm getting. That's what my intuition is telling me. Sasquatch are known for like stomping through the woods. And then as soon as somebody consciously like acknowledges them, they just kind of poof out of existence. But they're also known to be seen traveling with orbs. So I don't know if the orbs are like spiritual escorts. I don't know if it's part of their aura that we're just seeing differently, but your story is giving me squash vibes. I don't know how anybody else feels about it. If you guys have any other ideas.
Just coming out of my brain, I mean, it's not anything I've ever given thought to, but because I didn't know that they've traveled with orbs, Sasquatch and all that, I didn't know that part. But, it's like a futuristic flashlight, if you think about it.
It's funny you mentioned that because the area, this was at my parents' house back in 2008 when I still lived there. And this area was only a couple miles from what's known as the Arundel Mills Mall. And when it was built back in 2000, 2001, something like that, it was the largest mall in Maryland. And when they were building that site, they had to tear down massive amount of forest. I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of acres. Mm-hmm. And anybody can Google Arundel Mills Sasquatch or Arundel Mills Bigfoot, and you'll see the newspaper article that there was construction workers that were there that were coming to their site every morning, and they were seeing these tools being messed with, essentially. And there's an actual police report of the policeman actually seeing it as well.
Seeing Bigfoot?
Yep.
Okay.
And see, I didn't even know that Sasquatch were known for being in that area prior to what I just said. So that's just confirmation for me.
And I always thought, Sasquatch is a biological being, and until I started doing more research, I realized it's probably not, because how could a Sasquatch, right? This is an area, a very populated suburban area, right? There is a good amount of forest around, but it's like patches of forest. It's not any huge, like several square miles of forest or anything like that. This is in between an area in between Interstate 95 and Interstate 295. So if it was a biological being, it would have to be crossing that highway on a regular basis, and this is like an 8-lane highway,
Sure.
and so it just doesn't make any sense for a being to be in this location. They have enough natural resources to live off of, an 800-pound or whatever biological being to live off of, unless it has some sort of supernatural ability or something like that.
So what do you think of the squash theory then? Do you agree with it, or is it not resonating with you? Like, where do you land?
Yeah, I think it could be potentially Sasquatch, or maybe something else. I mean, I'm open to so many things, because
Okay.
I think it could be the Sasquatch. Think it could be Dogman. I think it could be.
Oh.
I think it could be Mothman. I mean, any of these things. I
Do
mean,
you think you just came upon it, or do you think it was there to like visit or for you?
I think I came upon it. I've had experiences where I think it sought me out, but this, I think I felt like I interrupted whatever it was doing. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like busted.
Like,
Yeah.
whoop.
That's why I was asking your
just-
mood. Like, I was wondering about your mood, because Angel did like come to my mind. I didn't want to like not consider
Yeah,
that.
and I'm
Like-
absolutely open to that as well,
like-
too. Yeah,
And
because
if it was there for you, but I mean, I don't know what state. Like, did you have a bad night? Were you like down in the dumps, or were you just like chilling in a neutral mood, or like what? That's what I. What
yeah, and I've considered that as well, because Chris Bledsoe has also reported that these beings that he's seeing, what he calls light beings, they come from the orbs or go into the orbs, or I'm not sure exactly remember how he described it exactly, but when I had read that and heard that from him, it really it sparked an idea in my mind. Maybe that's what I experienced. And actually 2008, that was a year after he had his experience, I believe, in 2007, although it's a couple states away. But I just found that very beyond coincidence that it was very similar. So it seems like, to me, the common pattern is there's many different types of beings or entities or whatever you want to call them that seem to use some sort of orbs or energy to travel in some sort of way, or to maybe hop in and out of our dimension of some sort of way.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a UFO?
I have. Not your traditional like saucer or cigar cylinder shape.
Okay.
But I have seen two incidences, I would say, that was completely unidentified. So a UFO. Once I was just walking here locally in my neighborhood a few years ago, and it was just like total random. I just looked up to the sky, and it was daylight, and I saw this object descending down. It was looked like a T or a cross, but with one side of the cross cut off. So it was really strange shape. And I got a quick video of it, and it kind of came out kind of fuzzy, which is really strange, because I had like I used the 10 times optical zoom on the Samsung, Galaxy Ultra, and I was like, this shouldn't be fuzzy, this doesn't make any sense. And so it had that common, report as, no matter how good you take the video, it still seems fuzzy, and maybe it's because of that gravity distortion field around it. And I took right after that a video, same like seconds after that, a video of a plane flying right above me to see like if it was working correctly or whatever. And you can clearly see the wings, the tail, everything on the plane I recorded. So that object was just strange. And then there was another incident, which was more spiritually impactful for me. I had a back surgery about a year ago. I traveled out of state for it because there's only certain types of doctors that could operate on the type of back surgery I needed. And this was in California end of last March. And I was just laying in bed, bedridden, right, for 2-3 days after the surgery to heal from it in the hospital.
Sure.
And I got really, really lucky with, I think the neurosurgeon had taken really good care of me, and he put me in a private room on the top floor. And so I'm laying there, and I have this great view out the window. And I was just laying there on the first day, and I remember thinking, wow, I'm bedridden here for a couple of days and nothing really to do but just stare at the wall or look at my phone or sleep. And so I was like, well, it'd be really cool if I'm looking out this window all day, if I could see something. And I didn't even say it out loud. I just said it in my mind. I wouldn't even say it was a prayer. I didn't put my hands together or anything like that. And I did probably say in my mind, God, it would be really cool if I could see. So I was calling out to, I guess you could say, a higher power.
The intention. Your intention was to look out the window and see
absolutely.
something.
And literally, and it was, I don't know how much time passed because I was under the influence of, the narcotics from the surgery and everything. But it was, if I had to guess, probably a couple hours later, because it was daylight when I thought that, I remember. And then when I looked over the window around sunset, I looked out the window and I saw these 4 lights up in the sky. And it was like 4 orbs, basically, way far out in the distance. And at first, I'm thinking, oh, I'm seeing double vision and it's 2 planes or something like that. I thought maybe I was seeing double vision from, the drugs I was on, basically, from the surgery. And I watched them for, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 seconds, because I expected if they're planes, right? Even though they didn't really look like planes, because they weren't like blinking in any normal manner. They were just like really bright lights, and they were more white looking to my eye initially. And they were like in a kind of a rectangle formation. And so if they're planes, flying, perpendicular to each other, you're going to see they're going to come out of that rectangle formation. And so that's kind of what I was waiting for. And then after, like, I don't know, several seconds, maybe 15 seconds or so, that wasn't happening. They seemed to be holding their formation. I'm like, this is strange. I should record this. I had enough mind to record it. And I recorded it, and like a minute and 34 seconds of it, or something like a minute, 36 seconds. But first I took a photo. And I looked down at the photo, and it only showed 2. And I was like, oh, I was seeing double vision. I looked back up the window, and now I only see 2. And so I'm like, 2 disappeared when I looked down to get my phone. And then I'm like, what are the chances of that? So I was like, I better record this really fast. So I switch over to video cam mode, and I start recording. And now there's only 1.
Oh my gosh.
So I got a photo of 2 and a video recording of a minute and a half of 1.
But you saw 4.
But I saw 4 before that. And, it was just almost seemed beyond belief. I was in disbelief at the time. I was like, and it was very spiritual for me. And I'm on the video saying, oh my God, thank you, God, thank you. This is beautiful. Like, I'm also like under the influence. And so I'm probably a little more emotional than I normally would be. But I mean, it was very spiritual experience. But then after the event, kind of like, that little seed of doubt came in my mind. Was something else? Was it really just planes, And I looked at the flight radar, and I can't see, certainly not 4. There was some planes in the area, but there was not 4 planes in that direction I was looking southeast. There was definitely not 4 or even 3 or 2. And there was a couple planes going back and forth, but there was none that were flying directly towards me or directly away from me, which could explain why they would hold that, rectangle formation. So very anomalous. Yeah, very strange and very powerful experience. Yeah.
I mean, I would be so frustrated if I was like seeing 4 and then I look down to get my phone and now there's only 2 that I could take a picture of, and then I look down to put the video on, I look up, now there's only 1. I'd be like,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it seems like they want to give you enough just to, make you realize, yeah, it was real, but they don't want to give you so much where it's like you can just broadcast this video and be like,
Right.
oh my gosh, this is incredible. Everybody
Yeah.
has a crazy reaction to it. It
Yeah.
seems like they're always one step ahead of you, it seems like, yeah.
Yeah, like they have
Yeah.
control whether it's going to come out clear and what's going to appear,
Yeah, and they're in total control, it seems like. Whatever that was,
Yeah.
they're in total control of the event, basically, or the experience. Absolutely. And just a little caveat, whatever it was, right? I still think that there is these flying saucers, the physical craft or whatever, the cylinders, but I also think there's these orbs too, and I think they could be the same phenomenon, or they could be separate. I'm open to either because of other people's, Mario Woods' experience and Chris Bledsoe's experience seeing the fireballs. So
Right.
I think there's a lot going on where you have a lot to figure out.
Right. And one thing I need to mention before the brain cell dies is there's also like consent culture when it comes to filming and recording and taking pictures of UAPs and stuff. A lot of times, like if you do it without asking or like letting them know you plan on doing that ahead of time, then they'll like just peace out and be like, hi, bye.
Yeah.
And then other times, like Chris Bledsoe, I know I've heard him say that if you ask permission, put out the intention ahead of time to allow them to record you, then you may have a different experience. So I just wanted to mention the consent culture around recording UAPs and orbs and stuff like that.
So your experience kind of reminds me of an experience that I had personally. So I was all right. So I came home from work one night, and I worked nights, so I didn't get home till 3:30 in the morning, and pulled into my driveway. It was a clear night. It was kind of cold outside, so the sky was crystal clear, and got out of my car, and for some reason I just looked up. Something told me to look up, so I did.
Yeah, I think there's something to that too with Matthew too.
Yeah, right. And
yeah, it's like that little spark tells you, look, for some reason. Yeah.
Right.
You get like an intuition ping. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I looked up, and there was this what looked like a bright star, an extremely bright star, that was moving just very slowly. At first I thought it was a satellite, but then I'm like, wait a minute, it's 3:30 in the morning, so I don't think it's a satellite, because normally you see satellites after sunset or right before dusk. I mean, right before sunrise. But this was moving just kind of slowly, and then it stopped. It literally just stopped and looked like another star. I was like, whoa. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to record this, right? So I pulled out my phone, and right when I hit record, it started moving again. So I didn't get it with it stopped, but I got it with it moving. And maybe within 10 seconds of me recording, of starting the recording, it moved along, and then it just faded out, and then blink. It was gone.
I literally just saw a UAP. I don't know where it's going. I can still just barely see it with my eyes. But it looked like it just shot up. That was so crazy.
That's so strange that it stopped, because I don't think satellites can stop. And
No,
Sure
they
don't.
can't.
And it reminds me of Dr. Beatrice research recently with the transients. That's what that makes me think of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pre-Sputnik.
I have no idea what it was. So I've thought about, the Iridium satellites. I don't know if they're still prevalent today, but back in the late 90s. A lot of people would see them. And those Iridium satellites, they would, I forgot exactly how they do it, but they would emit their own light. So you would see that satellite, in the middle of the night. But the fact that this object stopped, it's not a satellite. Because satellites don't just stop and then start moving again and then blink out.
Yep.
So yeah, it was wild. It was crazy. But your experience kind of brought me back to that memory.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I see
and I don't know that I've shared that before.
Yeah, I don't know if you have either, but I definitely see the parallels between your two story. Matthew, do you believe that the UAP phenomena is more like tech based, or do you think it's more consciousness, or do you think it's like a blend of both and you can't separate them?
This is a difficult question. I work in the tech industry. I'm software consultant, so I'm fixing problems for clients all day, and these are multi-billion-dollar clients. They have high expectations. A lot of the time it usually results in me telling them, no, it's functioning as intended, it's just not functioning the way you want, kind of thing. So I'm used to trying to logically piece things together. And from what I can gather is, I think there is technology. I think that or at least some craft, certainly there is a technology. I think possibly even in the reports of those big giant orbs, they could be technology as well, using some sort of, plasma or nuclear fission or fusion, I should say, fusion, not fission, that's creating that field around their craft that gives them kind of that ability to break physics, I guess you could say, or break the physics that we understand it, not really break physics, but do physics that we can't understand. I think Mario Wood's experience that really kind of compelled me to realize, these beings, definitely have some sort of ability, of technology to, and what he described was the traditional gray. So I think even if though they may have physical craft, maybe those same physical craft can create an orb or a fireball plasma around it, so it looks like a totally different, UFO, but it's really the same thing inside of that orb or that fireball. Yeah.
My thoughts with it often go back to the light body, or like the Merkaba or Makaba. I don't know, people say it differently, but and that we are made of light. Even our physical bodies are made of energy and light, and I think it's possible that everything in the universe is that as well, like death experiencers, we go back to that. Sometimes people feel like they are a orb themselves when they're on the other side, and they have the 360 vision because they're literally just like a ball of energy.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it could be going on as well too. I truly believe, in our spiritual bodies or and all of that. And I think that there could be, I guess, for lack of a better word, spiritual beings or non-physical beings that are kind of like we discussed earlier with these cryptids and everything, that are able to basically like living plasma, but they can also maybe even take physical forms. I mean, we have many cultures.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, we have many cultures that reported these things, right? I mean, from Native Americans to
Skinwalkers,
even on the other side of the world and everything, indigenous tribes and everything. So, and a lot of people say it's just stories they made up, but I think there is probably at least a kernel of truth in every single, story that they've told. Yeah.
Right. How would that make sense that there are, ancient cultures that from thousands of years ago all over the planet that all have similar types of experiences? And sure, maybe those stories aren't exactly the same as they happened thousands of years ago. It's like that game of telephone, that's just stories being passed down.
It could also be, sorry to interrupt, but it could also be the different perspectives throughout time. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
We only have so much knowledge, which gives us our perspectives and everything.
Right. But to me, that doesn't make sense that multiple different cultures came up with almost the same stories from around the different parts of the world.
Different physical locations and different points in time. All
right.
these different stories have commonalities that are basically saying the same thing. And I personally really believe in indigenous cultures and their stories and things like that. And I really feel like they've been poo-pooed and shoo-shooed for a really long time because, you know, the Christianity movement didn't want to hear all their spiritual elements and stuff. But I mean, I don't doubt them at all. I really don't. I feel like they're more in tune and know more about what the F is going on around us than our political leaders and the people in charge. So I'd rather hear from an indigenous elder than some old white guy that, you know, preaches Christianity.
Dean Aliato, who your interview with him just released.
Our interview. You weren't there.
No, I wasn't able to be there, right? But anyway, shout out. Hi, Dean.
Hi, Dean.
If you're listening. But he brought up a good point, and a point that I had not thought about before. And that is, I think you guys were talking about channelers and people that channel, or mediums, right, that communicate with past loved ones. And you guys were talking about indigenous shamans and how they're just doing the same thing today and calling it channeling, but really it's all going back to just communicating with other beings that are on the other side. So I thought that was a pretty significant
point to make.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. Shout out to the indigenous people. Much love and respect to you guys, and thank you for still being willing to share your wisdom with us. Because, yeah, there's a history there, and I'm not proud of what happened and everything like that. But anyways, much love to the indigenous cultures and the Native Americans and everybody like that. Okay, I want to switch gears just a tiny little bit, Matthew, because I want to get to your experience at the UFO press conference held by James Fox that you attended. So what motivated you to attend that event?
Absolutely. Yeah. So there was a conference, press conference being held here in Washington, D.C. I'm only an hour from there, so that's part of the reason I was really interested in going, because it was very little effort for me to be able to go. But it was being hosted by James Fox, filmmaker, documentary filmmaker, about the Varginha incident and that happened in Brazil back in 1996, and where, you know, a craft had many witnesses that had come down, and supposedly also as well beings that were seen by multiple witnesses as well too. And he was making an effort to bring many of those witnesses to DC. And so, yeah. So this was a big event because this was important, because this was happening not just in some conference room in a hotel or something. This was happening at this building in Washington, D.C., which is called the National Press Club, which is known by, you know, all of government officials, anyone of, you know, any high position lobbyist or, you know, corporation or anything like that that's in and around D.C. If they want to make an announcement to the press, this is where they would hold that announcement. And so it was a big deal that he was able to get a room there, basically for the whole day, really, to you know, have these witnesses, you know, testify and invite any media to show up to record, you know, what they had to say and what had happened. And so, yeah, I definitely wanted to attend that event because, you know, it was so close and it was so groundbreaking, you know, to have so many witnesses that are alive that can speak to this today, and credible witnesses from doctors to just regular everyday people. And originally, actually, I wanted to go really bad, but then when the news came out that several of the witnesses had their visas denied, I think it was like 6 of the 9 people he wanted to bring. It was
Really?
at least 6 denied, were denied visas. And I did get to speak with James Fox after the event, and ask him and talk to him about that, because it was very puzzling to me. I wanted to pick his brain a little bit more on that. And what I learned was it wasn't just like 6 random denials. The weird thing is that 2 of those original 6 were originally approved. And he said that then their approval was revoked after U.S. consulate in Brazil learned that they were traveling to the United States to testify on this event at the National Press Club, and they learned from it just through basically the people who were applying. They just admitted, they were asked, what are you doing there? Instead of just saying, oh, I'm going, for a government meeting and just keeping it general, they told the details of, oh, I was, witness to the Varginha incident, UFO, and I'm going to testify at that. And so he told all those details, and James Fox said, I wouldn't have told, the U.S. consulate that if it was me, but, a couple of these, or at least one of these witnesses had told the U.S. consulate that, so they know exactly what they were going there for. And then those 2 approvals were reversed to be denied, which is very suspicious to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know that meme?
Don't be suspicious.
That's coming
Don't
to
be
my mind.
suspicious.
Or as Jesse Michaels and Chris Ramsey would say, it's probably nothing.
Yeah, it's probably nothing.
Visas, they never gave you a reason why they were denied?
So they denied 2 immediately. They denied, was it Liliani? Yeah, Liliani.
Okay.
Then they denied Marco Leal.
Yeah.
And then there were 3 that were under further review, which was a good sign.
Yeah.
And they approved Valkyria. And apparently that's a really good sign. Our immigration lawyer's like, oh yeah, this is looking good.
Oh,
we got
wow.
1 approved. She's like, yeah, we have about a 75-80% approval.
Yeah, right.
So dot the I's, cross the T's,
Right.
like, she knew exactly what to look out for, putting the whole thing together. And then one of the witnesses had talked about, oh, well, what are you doing? Oh, we're doing this conference. Oh, what's the conference? Well, you remember the Varginha? Oh, yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, well, I was involved with that. And I thought, I don't know if I would have told. I certainly didn't. Additional review went on for a while. That's when I contacted Burleson. I said, Burleson, can you put your team on it? So he did. They were contacting the consulate. Hey, we're requesting them to be here. We want them to be here. This conference. So it was the government, the U.S. government reaching out to them, and then they reached out to me too. Like, are you sponsoring the event? Here's who I am. Here's the film that all right out there for everyone to see. We thought we had it in the bag. We were like, this is going to be great.
So they revoked somebody that was already approved, basically.
I'm totally speculating. I don't know the ultimate, but I can tell you the immigration lawyer was like, well, that doesn't make sense because they knew that,
So the immigration...
And the fact that Burleson's office was reaching out to them.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was a slam dunk.
So the immigration lawyer said this was very unusual, basically.
She said the fact that they're under additional review and they kept their passports is a very good sign. And they approved Valkyria.
Wow.
And then they not only did they not approve the 3 additional under review, but the ones that weren't approved, they denied that one too.
Wow.
And the other, very frustrating.
Thank
That's why
you.
we played the statement.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying.
I mean, why would they do that, though? I mean, that's it, unless there's something to it and they know it and they don't want them going and testifying.
Well, Brazil is very open about all this. I mean, they have a freaking alien statue right in the middle of the town.
Yeah.
So
Well, the town does.
It's right, but I'm saying but I think that the blockage happened from the American side, right? Yeah. So it's like, but that's weird because James Fox's film is already produced. It's already out. People have already watched it. So it's like, how is that different from hearing them at the national? I mean, I guess it is different, but it just shows you that there's a there as to why they would make such efforts to prevent these people from being able to enter the country to be able to talk about them.
Unless there was some type of new information that they were going to disseminate.
Yeah, I think it really has to do with the National Press Club. I think if they were just going to like a random banquet conference center at a hotel in DC or something, they would think, oh, it's just going to be some private group of people that are hearing this. It's not going to be broadcast out. I think it was that broadcasting out of it that probably, if there was some sort of conspiracy to try and put a damper on the event, it makes sense that they wouldn't want it to happen at the National Press Club because that's a pretty big deal.
So how many people showed up? How many people were in attendance?
I'm not sure exactly. That was actually one of my original questions to James Fox. I had asked him on Twitter because I didn't want to just show up, stand in a long line, and then have to go home.
Oh, you asked this in advance.
So I asked him, what the maximum capacity was of the room because, that happened to a lot of people at the, congressional events, there was like maybe
Yeah.
100 seats at most or something.
Yeah.
And half of those seats were taken up by press or
Right.
special,
Yeah.
reserved guests. And so hardly anybody got in. So I didn't want to
Chris-
stand out in 15-degree weather waiting for that, And he said it was 400 capacity. And I think it was, if I had to guess, it was not counting press, probably around 200 people. Yeah.
Not counting press, 200. Okay, so and then 3 out of the 9 witnesses did show up and speak, or how many people did speak?
Yeah, if you don't count their family members, like their wives and their other family members who attended with them, it was 3 that were direct witnesses of the event. So it was De Souza, who was a witness of the actual crash, who showed up on the site. And then it was Dr. Italo, who also was there, who examined the being that brought to the hospital and a few days after the crash. And then it was also Dr. Armando, who was part of the autopsy on the military guy who passed away from an infection not long after bringing that same being to the hospital.
Right on. So these are all 3 witnesses that came out newly in Moment of Contact 2.0. Basically.
2 of the 3 were brand new in the new version. The crash witness, De Souza, he was in the original Moment of Contact.
Oh, is he the guy who was like, Aki, Aki, Aki? Like they took him physically.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Out in the field or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah. So he was in the original Moment of Contact, but the 2 doctors were brand new. They were not in the original. They were just, James, I think, was working with them at the time, or working with Dr. Italo behind the scenes to get information, but he hadn't come out to actually seeing the being in person until this documentary, the new version.
Did they say anything that they hadn't said in the film, or was it just basically an in-person reiteration?
It was, during the press conference, it was a lot of reiteration. The one, except for, I would say, Dr. Armando, who provided the report about the bacteria of the autopsy and all that information, which they said, it actually is an Earth-based bacteria that they know about. And so that was new information. But they said it behaved in a way that, should not behave, because this is a young man who was healthy otherwise. This is not the type of bacteria that would, kill a young, healthy man in this low 20s, early 20s. Yeah. And so that was very unusual, they said. And, I was talking to actually during the intermission and afterwards of the event with Gino, who was actually a producer of the Y-Files.
I was just going to say, from Y-Files?
Yeah, and I was talking to him afterwards, and, we were kind of like discussing that fact about the bacteria. Well, it's just an Earth-based bacteria. And he, posed some good questions about how, even though it's a known Earth-based bacteria, maybe there was some sort of abnormality to it that they just didn't notice at the time, that they didn't have the technology back in '96 to realize. And also, he said, maybe it's not even an actual Earth-based bacteria. Maybe it's originally came from space, thousands of years ago. We don't know, right? I mean, we've only been looking at bacteria for 100 years or a couple hundred years, so it could have came here, it could be extraterrestrial itself. So that's some good, thoughts and things to think about that should be considered.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think Jesse Michaels did an interview with that doctor, right?
Yeah.
Armando, was it?
Yeah, and Jesse Michaels recently did an interview with all the witnesses, and they gave, honestly, his interview with them was more detailed than what they gave at the National Press Club. I think what was so important about the National Press Club is having the media there. And unfortunately, it's really disappointing that a lot of media didn't show up, even though they're invited, like CNN or NBC or not even Fox News. I mean, News Nation was there. There was a lot of podcasters there, independent podcasters. I heard also that Newsmax had a camera there as well. So that was another media network that was there. But it's like they're too afraid to cover it, or they didn't take it seriously enough.
Or they were told not to by the higher ups because, most media, I think it's owned at least, 10 or 20 years ago by 5 corporations. I don't know what it is now. It might be even less.
Yeah, but the really important thing for the event, was just being able to talk to the witnesses and see them in person. I mean, it was extremely powerful. Like, I didn't expect so much emotion from the event because I was actually sitting in the third row, and so I had a very close seat to them, and I noticed, when I was sitting there before they even got up to speak, that Dr. Italo was, sitting there with his hands together, like kind of looking up, almost like I'm pretty sure he was praying at one point, and his eyes, kind of looked watery, like he was going to start to cry, and it was a very serious moment for him. And then Mr. De Souza got up there and started reading from his written transcript that he was supposed to read of the account of what happened, of what he experienced. And he just broke down, like crying, like so hard. And to be, so close to him and see that kind of powerful emotion. I mean, it was
palpable.
Really powerful. And then he even like went off script and because he got so passionate about what he had experienced, he started saying things that weren't on his written script. And if it was all faked, right, he would have stuck to the script. That gave it more credibility to me because he was just started going off the cuff, and the translator basically had to, wait, stick to the transcript because I'm having a hard time here. Yeah, so that was really interesting as well too. Yeah, it was very powerful, and afterwards getting to speak with them and ask them questions myself. I got to speak with James Fox. I got to speak with Mr. De Souza. I asked him, how many minutes, because I never heard this talked about before. How many minutes was it from the time you saw the craft go down and the time you showed up on scene? Because he said he never saw any beings, and which is strange, right? You would think, if there was beings, he would have saw beings. But there was, he said, if I remember correctly, it was 5 to 8 minutes between the time he saw it go over the horizon and the time he showed up. So that's definitely enough time for, if there was beings in that craft, right, to escape out. And he said, right behind that, there was also like a little kind of a ravine where there was a little river and some trees where they could have run to hide to. And that river leads right to where the girls saw those beings a few days later.
So my question is about how much time passed between when the craft hit the ground and he showed up and appeared. Is it enough time for entities or beings to escape out of sight from when he had arrived?
Eu gostaria de saber que desde que a nave caiu até você chegar no ponto onde a nave tinha caído, quanto tempo passou, e se for possível que esses seres que estavam dentro da nave poderiam ter escapado durante esse tempo que tomou para você chegar lá.
Na minha opinião, a hora que eu vi, desde que eu não vi a nave, sumiu do meu campo de visão sobre terra. Eu demorei mais ou menos uns 7 dias, coisa verde. Quando chegou no máximo de 5.000 a 8.000 de máximo para localizar o local exato, para chegar lá. Não era nem chifre.
When he lost sight of it, that he kind of understood where it had fallen, it was about 5 to 6 hours, about 5 to 8 minutes maximum between that moment that he lost sight and got to the side.
Segundo alguns pesquisadores,
E não tinha cheiro
o local
ruim
que eu
também.
vi a terra
Eles fazem isso para vender, né?
no rio,
Eles querem causar medo nas pessoas, né?
e esse rio sai justamente atrás, na rua de trás, onde as meninas estaram terapia. E eles suspeitam que eles foram do local até lá, dá aproximadamente uns 8 quilômetros. Então demorou
I play in piano California.
There's a river that runs behind this crash, and he said that it is possible some people went there to research that they could have gone through this river because the river comes out to where the ladies sit, the guys saw the beings.
Very interesting.
So they could have gone through that.
Okay, thank you so much, and thank you for translating. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Wow. I was just going to ask you if there was any cool conversations that happened, like behind the scenes or out of the room, but then you just said the story.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, there was a lot of cool conversations that happened after the event where people got to ask their own questions and go up to the witnesses themselves, like some of the ones I just mentioned. And
Right.
and there was another one. It wasn't a question I asked the witness, but a question that this other young lady had asked that I thought was a great question that wasn't even related to the Varginha event. That she had asked him, Dr. Italo, do you ever know? Have you ever had any other unexplainable experiences through your work as a doctor, operating? And one thing he had mentioned, or it was something along those lines, and he had mentioned that he had noticed in a lot of procedures that he had done that the blood, when he's operating on the patient, goes where it's supposed to go. Like he doesn't have to redirect it anywhere. Like, so during the surgery, if blood goes the wrong place, it could cause obviously complications that, could cause problems. And so they have to redirect the blood or stop the blood from that area. And he said there has been many instances where it would just go to where it goes almost as if something else, some other force is guiding the blood to help him, like give him a helping hand kind of.
The blood could be conscious like water.
Yeah. It's very, very unusual. And so I was very fascinating to hear that from him. Yeah.
Wow. That is a neat thing to hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get to meet any cool people or podcasters that you didn't expect to get a interaction with?
Other than James and the witnesses.
Right.
Yeah, actually, I did get to meet a lot of people. People I had already spoken with online through Discord and open mic and stuff, but I hadn't really got the chance to meet in person yet. Gino from the Y Files was one of them.
Yeah.
I got to meet one of your past guests a couple of shows ago. I'm forgetting his name right now. He was on here with another lady from
Anthony
Canada.
M. Cosmos.
Yeah, Anthony, it's the name.
I met him very briefly. I just shook his hand. I didn't even know who he was at the time, and then he appeared on your show like a week or two after. I also met up with one of the moderators. I'm a moderator for Christina Gomez's channel, and he's kind of encouraged me to come down because I was kind of reluctant to come down.
Is that hides in long grass by any chance?
It is, yeah. And because I was reluctant at one point when I learned that 6 of the 9 witnesses had been denied, I was like, well, maybe it's not really going to be worth it. But he was like, no, you should just come anyways. And so I'm glad he still convinced me to go, even despite that. And so I met up with him.
Nice.
I met up with Vito, talked with Vito, who does also a podcast he started recently. I think it's called Gaming something. He does like a mix of gaming and UFO stuff.
Oh, Perfect Storm?
Yeah, Perfect Storm.
The guy from Jersey?
He was
okay.
Yeah, he was there as well.
Oh, cool.
And I also got to meet with Gene Sticco as well.
Okay.
He was a really nice guy as well. So I got to meet several other people. Unfortunately, everybody, I didn't want to interfere with them too much because they were doing their own thing, recording and everything like that.
Yeah, sure.
It was great to see a lot of people who are working hard to record everything that's going on and get the word out,
Absolutely.
Right. Shout out to all those people. Definitely.
Yeah.
Hi, friends.
So I want to put a button on the press conference. If you had to Yelp review it, if you could give it a rating out of 5 stars with a little comment, how many stars would you give it and what would your comment be?
I would give it, in terms of James's organization and everything, I would give it 5 stars. The only thing I would say that was negative about it or disappointing about it would be that there wasn't more media there. So, yeah, that's the only thing. And that's not the fault of James. He reached out to all the media. It was their decision to not show up. So that was disappointing, but the event itself was great because it wasn't a huge event, right? It was small enough to where you could interact with the witnesses yourself, but it was also big enough to show there's a lot of people who care about this and take this very seriously. And so nice. I would absolutely give it 5 stars for sure. Yeah.
Do you think the media that did show up accurately represented the event?
I've only seen News Nation's reporting on it, so I haven't seen anyone else who was there in terms of mainstream media, if there was others there. But from News Nation's reporting, yeah, absolutely. They've been spot on. They were Megan from I
nice.
did get to meet her briefly, actually.
Oh, cool,
when
from
I
the
was coming
Q&As with
into the
Ross?
event. Yeah, and
Nice.
Megan was in the elevator when I was coming up to the event, and we were actually talking about the visas. But she was, once she got to the event, she was hard at work, up there, and she was live streaming it. I mean, it's hard. I mean, to be deceptive or not be accurate when you're live streaming. So she live streamed the whole event with Ross, and it was, from what I saw, it was very accurate and very well done. And I learned later that apparently that News Nation had not even paid her to be there. She paid for her own way there to be there. Like, obviously they were allowed to cover it, but they didn't want to pay for her to be on site at the event. And so she paid out of her own pocket to be there for it, to live stream it. And so a huge shout out to her for that, because that takes dedication, and it shows she takes the, her, not just Ross, but, she takes the topic very seriously as well, too. Yeah,
Absolutely.
For sure. Well, special shout out to Megan for doing that. And it's reminding me of like the UAP hearings when everybody had to pay for their own way to get there and everything. Like they had to pay everything out of pocket to show up and provide testimony. So it really speaks to someone's stance on the topic when they're willing to fork the bill themselves to make sure that their information is spread and made known and aware by everybody. So yeah, special shout out to her and everybody else that's dedicated to this field and who showed up and made films or content about it. Yeah. I feel like I had a brain cell that just died, but
but even though I want to say a positive thing about News Nation, even though they didn't want to pay for her to go out there, they take this subject seriously. They still cover it, and I really appreciate them doing that. And
they do
it to show that they still want to invest into this covering the subject. They actually just saw earlier that they're looking for a producer researcher to join Ross and Megan. Now they're hiring. There's a job posting on it. Yeah, they posted on Twitter or X that they're looking for somebody now. So the fact that they're putting money into expanding their team speaks a lot that they want to continue covering this and cover this even more than maybe before.
That gives me hope. The only person I've ever seen Ross like tagged up with is Bryce Zabel, and now Megan. So, but I wonder who's going to be this new person filling that role that they just inquired about.
Yeah,
That's
it'd be interesting to see. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So like looking forward, what other UAP events or things, conferences, any kind of stuff you got planned for the future that you want to go to?
No, I mean, I try to stay pretty local. I don't go out to a lot of the bigger events, they're out on the West Coast, so I don't have any of those planned or anything like that. But, I'm always keeping an eye out for any events on the East Coast for sure. Yeah.
Okay. You did mention that you, in the future, and that you haven't started, but you have everything, written down in your personal, prepared to possibly write a book in the future. Did you?
Yeah, I mean, it's an idea I've played around with. I mean, I take it very seriously to write down anytime I have what I would consider a paranormal experience, whether it's UFO or spiritual or anything like that, anything I can't put a logical explanation to. I have them written down, and so I could tie it together as a book. And so, yeah, when I find the time, I would love to put it together in a book for sure. Yeah.
Well, I highly support you doing that. And I remember when we spoke with Chris Lato, he put out the message that if you want to write a book about this, write a book about this. So I'm gonna share his knowledge and pass that along to you to just do the damn thing, because it's totally relevant.
Yeah.
Ask him your famous question.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure you know what question it is. But so what is your greatest hope for the future of humanity?
Honestly, my greatest hope is just peace. There's a lot of you could call it evil or whatever you want to call it, but a lot of malevolent intentions among certain individuals in the world, and it causes a lot of suffering and death. And I think we've seen it more in the past few years than we have in decades, probably. And it's unfortunate. It seems like humanity's gone backwards in that sense, even though we're moving forward in technology. And so I think it's important that we really come together as one species, one entity, and work together. And, if there is these bad actors, on the planet, we need to work together to, take their ability away, just to stop what they're doing, because especially when it's affecting not even thousands, but literally millions of people, I think it's really important that we work towards that. I mean, even anybody, a lot of people will say they don't have the power to do it, even if it's just as simple as speaking out against it. I think that's important, because I think the more conscious effort or intention we put into it, the more it will help direct us in that direction.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you do our audience a favor and drop your links, let them know where they can find you online and what cool things you might have coming up?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I'm not a really super public individual. I'm not like out here doing YouTube videos or anything like that. However, you can find me on Twitter under the tag Android Paranorm, just without the AL, for like paranormal. And you're welcome to, follow me there, reach out to me there, send me a message there. If you search Android Paranormal on YouTube as well, I should come up, but I don't have currently any videos on there, but I do plan to upload the videos that I recorded from the Virginia event, as well as potentially maybe a couple of the UFO experiences I've experienced in the past as well too.
Okay.
Awesome. And of course, Discord.
Yeah, and my Discord as well too. Yeah, it's just the Android Paranormal, just like normal. Yeah.
Right.
All right, cool. Very good. All right. Is there any last pieces of advice or things that you guys want to talk about that we haven't talked about yet? Last things anybody wants to get off their chest?
No, I just thank you for having me. I love what you guys do, and I really enjoy the show, and I think these discussions are important to have
Awesome.
for humanity to move forward. Like I said, we're moving forward technologically, but we need to move forward spiritually or interdimensionally, and all this information, because I think it will also help us become a more peaceful race as well.
Yeah, and with NDEs and mediumship and channelers, all the metaphysical things. I mean, we are. It turns out we're basically multi-dimensional beings in the first place.
Yeah.
And I will throw it out there because it was a thought I had. But with your back surgery and what you witnessed out of the window of the recovery room and everything, angels did come to mind again for that, and like the possibility that they were there through that surgery, assisting and even helping you heal. Like, how was your healing journey after that?
That's a great question, because I've thought about that. I think the thing that blew my mind about that event the most was not visually what I saw, but that I had thought about seeing something out the window, or hoped to see something out the window. I put that intention out there, or you could say it maybe was even a mental kind of prayer. And it showed up. It's like it heard my thoughts, right? And so what kind of thing can hear your thoughts like that other than angels or spiritual beings of some sort? My healing actually went really well. I took it probably a little easier than I should have for a few months, just because I really wanted it. It was a very serious surgery, so I wanted to make sure it healed up really well. Healing went great. I was in good hands of a great doctor who was honestly known for this surgery worldwide. So I knew I was in good hands to begin with, but it was almost like, it was like a sign that, you're going to be okay. You're going to heal from this or get through this. And so, the healing went great. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing your experiences with us and everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad you healed up well. And the last question that I have is, if there's anybody that's like just now starting on their spiritual journeys, like you said, you started in 2020s when you really started deep diving. What advice would you give for somebody that's like just dipping their toes in these spiritual, uncharted waters?
I mean, that's a hard question, because there's so much information out there. And it's hard to know what information to follow and what information to believe or what information to trust. With AI especially, it's really hard to know, what's real and what's not. And so what I would recommend for people is, when they're looking into this, is look for patterns. You want to look for patterns.
Yes.
And that's what I do. I've listened to a lot of other people's experiences. I mean, a pattern could be anything as simple as, a lot of people report the same beings that look alike, right? That's a pattern, right? Or a lot of people report being taken in bed at night, right? That's a pattern, right? I mean, just little patterns like that, I think is important. And And I think it's even more important when it comes to the little minute details. And, you know, it's when you find patterns, usually that means there's a kernel of truth there a lot of the time.
Agreed.
Totally agree. I am a sucker for finding patterns. As soon as I recognize a pattern, I'm like, wait a minute, we've seen this before. We've heard this before. Hold on a second, I'm getting deja vu again. You know? So no, that is great advice, because a lot of the things that I've learned to consider true or real is because of repeated stories, repeated people telling me things.
It's like the sifting. You're sifting through all the information, and those patterns are what basically sticks.
Yes. Right. Or like if you keep hearing the same things, but from like different places and different people and different scenarios, it's like, wait a minute, why do I keep hearing these things?
Right. Another great example of that pattern that really stuck out to me was Chris Bledsoe's story about the fireball, but then also Mario Wood's story of abduction experience. They were both abducted by fireballs, but Chris Bledsoe, he goes towards the more spiritual explanation and believes there are spiritual beings of some sort. And Mario Woods is very non-spiritual with his experience. I don't know if he might be open to it, but you know, it's very military documented event that was more technologically talked about, more matter of fact. And so that is a pattern right there. Is like, okay, you have these two very different experiences, but they both had these giant, you know, craft that were like giant plasma balls, like a giant sun. And then they both had beings come out of them. So patterns like that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then our perspective, each individual's perspective is going to totally change what they're.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
There's that.
I love you guys. I love being able to sit here and just talk about all this weird out there off the wall shit and just have it be normal. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Leslie. Especially thank you to you, Matthew.
Yeah,
and to our audience. Yes, thank you, everybody. Much love. To our audience, thank you guys as well. Thank you for sticking around. And please do us a favor and smash that like button, click subscribe, ring our little notification bell, drop a lovely comment down below, and share this video with your family and friends to help us spread the good word. And I don't just say that to say that, like, help us. We have a goal of reaching 1K subs that was supposed to happen by the end or by the beginning of 2026, and now we're like in February, so it's residually just lingering around. Help us out. Share, like, comment, spread the word. Help us out. All right. Now that that's done, Matthew, we do a 3-piece closer. I'm sure you're aware of it, but I'll demonstrate it for you anyways. We do much love, peace, and namaste. Are you down to join?
You do it again?
We do much love, peace, and namaste.
Okay.
All right, let's do it all together. Here we go. All right. Much love. Yep. Peace and namaste.
You said you got that computer from the doctor. I forget his name.
I got it from his wife or his mistress.
Okay. My main question is, did she describe any strange men coming to her house wanting to look at it? Any break-ins that she had or anything like that?
No.
So it was just mysteriously gone.
I was like, I'm not even going to take a chance of taking it to a technician here in Brazil. I'm taking this baby home with me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I was thinking I might be bringing home some footage. And then I had a buddy who knows a technician. I wanted to have it all done professionally, so he knows how to hook up the PC drive and take the data. And I didn't want to take any chances. I'm a total neophyte. He called me within an hour. He goes, dude, the hair on the back of my neck stood up straight when I opened this thing up. I said, why is that? He goes, hard drive's gone.
That's wild. And they were able to take it without her even knowing that it was gone, basically.
Somebody did.
So it could be a family friend, or.
So what I did, I don't know.
Yeah.
So what I did was we went back to his wife, his widow.
Yeah.
Dug through her house multiple times. I mean, honestly, we were so overwhelmed. We were at their house going, and she's like crying. You're looking through her deceased husband's affairs. She's like crying half the time and showing us pictures of them together. I mean, it's really tough. We're like a couple of vultures digging through her dead husband, But it would probably take us probably a month at her house to really go top to bottom, to really look for it.
Wow.
And then, but we're also reaching out to his secretary, his mistress daughter. I mean,
and did she see the video herself as well?
No, they both denied its existence.
Oh wow.
Oh no, the wife So the wife's like, I don't know. Marco Leal, my partner, had overheard a conversation. I guess he had one of the doctors call the wife because she doesn't know who I am. I'm some sort of outsider that wanted to dig through her house, right?
Right.
And she said over the phone, and my partner, Marco Leal, oh, they're looking for that little video. Like she knew about it. And then Italo said, oh my God, Marcos Venezis, who showed it to all the doctor friends, would go over there for like Christmas or whatever, and he would take them in the office, show them the video. Like, it was like, yeah, that's what he did. So he thinks that somebody got to the wife and said, shut up about this.
Interesting.
I mean, they might have got, I don't know, man.
Right.
These guys are one beat ahead of me more than I want them to be. But I've gotten to people before they've gotten to them, because I know, because right after I've interviewed them, they've got contacted.
She's in love with him.